A One Piece game where you can create your own character, create or join your own crew, and explore and fight on the seas of the One Piece world. That would be the perfect One Piece game for me. What's good, YouTube? RedxRonnie here, and today I'm going to dive deep into the fighting styles players can have in my dream One Piece game. This is part of an ongoing series in which I break down game mechanics and features I'd want in my One Piece game idea. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to stay updated. In my last video, I talked about the unarmed fighting styles I'd put in this game, those being Brawling, Blackleg style, and Okama Kenpo. While those three, well, go ahead and watch the video to go find out. But in this video, I'm going to cover the melee weapon fighting styles players can have in this game. Now what you might recall from my last video is that I said using weapons in this game would be similar to that of Shinobi Striker, where whatever weapon you're holding at the time would be your fighting style. So I'm pretty much going to go down the list of those weapons. So without further ado, let's discuss weapon fighting styles in the perfect One Piece game. Alright, so first off, before I get into the actual weapon styles, I have to bring up something important. So if you recall from our last video, each of the three fighting styles will have a skill tree that a player could use to be able to earn attacks and upgrades of the chosen fighting style. So while some weapon styles like Santoryu or Nitoryu have a variety of known attacks in this series that you could easily build a skill tree out of, that isn't the case for most weapons. A lot of characters in One Piece have specific weapons made for their powers, or they only really perform one attack with said weapon. For example, the Jite. The only person in this series with a Jite is Smoker, and he uses it primarily in conjunction with his Moku Moku meaning powers. So there isn't really any examples of how a non-level fruit user will use a Jite in One Piece. So making a skill tree around a Jite weapon style and others in the same boat would be pretty difficult. But for the purposes of moving on, let's assume that the developers could just make non-level fruit named attacks for weapon styles that don't have many attacks. I mean, this game idea is already pretty ambitious and very unrealistic, plus I don't think it would be impossible to do so. So now let's actually talk about the weapon styles that would be in this game. In this game, you will be able to carry a maximum of 3 katana or colored swords, with your fighting style being however many you're carrying at the time. If you choose to carry one sword, then your fighting style would be Itoryu or one sword style. Itoryu attacks include any one sword attacks we've seen in this series, even if they don't have the Itoryu prefix. So Zoro's Lion Song, Roger's Divine Departure, and Big Mom's Ikoku Sovereignty all fall under the one sword style moveset. Now deciding the dual wield swords gives you Nitoryu or two sword style. Same as Itoryu, Nitoryu attacks include any two sword style attacks that we've seen in the series. Some of those being Zoro's Nigiri, Oden's Paradise Tonsuka, and even Vista's Rose Rondo. Now if you decide that two swords just aren't enough for you, then you can go get another sword, put it in your mouth like a badass, and you could learn Santoryu or three sword style. As everyone knows, Santoryu is the fighting style of Roronoa Zoro. So you will essentially be able to fight just like Zoro from the series. You can learn attacks like Onigiri, the Dragon Twister, 3000 Worlds, and even Ashura. Now remember, these sword styles will only be possible with either regular sized katanas or cutlasses. So no, you wouldn't be able to triple wield Enma, Yoro, and Napoleon. Not only is that practically ineffective, but you would just look kinda stupid. Now this doesn't mean you wouldn't be able to learn similar techniques with similar weapons. Because again, if you're a one sword style user, you can learn Ikoku Sovereignty even though it's done from a big sword like Napoleon. Or you can even learn one of Mihawk's big sword techniques with just using a katana. You just wouldn't be able to dual wield any weapons that aren't katanas or regular pirate swords. With that being said, let's move on to one-handed weapons. These consist of weapons players only use one hand with, obviously. Starting with hook/axe hands, I would assume these would work similar because hook hand, axe hand wouldn't be that big of a difference. Daggers, fencing, so Brook's fighting style, just not including the devil fruit powered attacks. And once again, the Jite, Smoker's weapon. Moving on to two-handed weapons. These consist of large swords, staffs, spears, axes, etc. that require the use of two hands. Starting with the long swords, so these are just big swords like Yoru, and I don't really care how effortlessly Mihawk holds it with one hand. Yoru is a two-handed weapon. This also includes Arlong's Kiribichi and Napoleon, which I know has multiple forms, but it's usually just a big pirate sword. But just think of this as just a big version of one sword style, because again, you can learn most of the same techniques. Two-handed weapons also includes Bizentos, spears, and tridents, obviously all different weapons, but could work in a similar fashion, especially tridents and spears. Scythes, the Kanabo, Kaido's and Yamato's weapon. Luckily this fighting style is already being fleshed out in the series. And lastly, staves. So pretty much any non-bladed pole-like weapons fits this category, so You could include Sabo's pipe, Virgo's bamboo, and even Kanjuro's paintbrush. They all kind of fit the staff category. Now this does also include a climate attack used by Nami, which one could use the weapon as a staff, but the actual Art of Weather is more of a special fighting style, so I'm going to actually do that in the special fighting styles video I'm going to do later on. In the final category of weapon styles, dual weapons. These consist of weapons characters dual wield, excluding two sword style. So twin axes, cat claws or knives, axe and sword combo, sword and seal combo, peacock slashers, punishers, and twin scythes, even though we haven't seen much of that, besides Kamazo. Now I know that sounds like a lot of weapon styles to choose from, but that's really the point. One Piece is a series full of different characters who use cool and unique weapons to best fit their fighting style. Having all these weapon styles allows for players to feel more unique, knowing that there may not be many players who have the same type of fighting style or techniques as them. Now that we've gotten through all the weapons, let's talk about how players will obtain these weapons to use. So in this game, players will be able to find, buy, win, and forge weapons to use. To find weapons, there will be treasure chests spawned around the map that will sometimes contain weapons along with an assortment of other items that the players could use. If a player doesn't want to waste time looking for treasure chests all day, they could just buy weapons from weapon shops that would be pretty much at every island in the game. Players will also be able to win legendary weapons seen from the series by competing in event boss battles. Now I don't really want to get too much into event battles in this video, but essentially every so often a powerful boss character will spawn in the map. Players could battle the boss, and once they defeat the boss, they will drop the weapon if they have one, and that's how you will obtain that weapon. And lastly, weapon forging. Players will be able to have weapons forged by blacksmiths, whether those blacksmiths be by blacksmith shops or blacksmith crew members. Players will have to gather certain materials and bring them to the blacksmith so they can forge them into the weapon the player wants. Forging weapons would be the best way to obtain weapons because not only would you be able to personalize the weapon by creating a blueprint customization of the weapon you want with the colors and engravings you want on it, but it will also be the only non-Devil way you could attach status effects to your weapons. Those effects being poison, burning, dizziness, chilled, slow, and also sea stone effect, which does double damage to Devil Fruit users. Now I'm going to repeat that. The only way a player can have a sea stone weapon is by having it forged by a blacksmith using sea stone as a material. Well, that and if you beat an event boss who has a sea stone weapon and they drop one. But besides that, that's the only way you can obtain a sea stone weapon. So you would not be able to find a sea stone weapon in the chest. You would not be able to find. You wouldn't be able to buy one from a store. You would have to have it forged using sea stone weapons or sea stone materials. Now the final thing we need to discuss is how Devil Fruits and Haki will be used in conjunction with weapons. While I'll save most of the Haki points for the actual Haki video, for the most part you'd be activating armament Haki and just performing basic melee and weapon attacks, and there you have it. You have Haki imbued attacks. But for Devil Fruits it would be a little different. Certain Devil Fruit powers would be infused with your basic melee combos, majority of those being Logia types such as the Miyamiri no Mi causing burning and the Hihi no Mi causing chill, but there will also be some Paramecia that will also cause effects such as the Doku Doku no Mi obviously causing poison. Now this might be a little too ambitious. I mean, this game is already pretty ambitious like I said before, let's be real. But I would like it if there were actual weapon fighting animations created for Paramecia fruits that change the user's body. So like a Gum Gum fruit user being a sword wielder, stretching while fighting, and even having gained specific attacks you could learn to perform. Again, that's a little ambitious, but not necessarily impossible. If I haven't clarified in my previous videos, we're acting as if we have the biggest possible budget for the game. Not necessarily focusing on if it will be made, but if it can be made. Now, in terms of weapons consuming Devil Fruits, besides Funk Free, there aren't any more examples to go off of, at least when it comes to melee weapons. So it wouldn't really be a thing in the game except for the Zozo no Mi, which could only be applied to a colorless or katana, and that way you could create Funk Free. But that would be the only exception. It has to be specifically the Zozo no Mi and the katana, or a colorless. This also somewhat includes Devil Fruit powered special weapon attacks. You will have to have a specific Devil Fruit and a specific weapon or a similar weapon in order to unlock a specific attack on the weapon skill tree to learn. So for example, in order to use categories Mochi Thrust, you would need to be using a trident or a spear and also be a Mochi Mochi no Mi user. Or in order to learn Brick's Blizzard Slash, you would need to be using a fencing sword or a katana while also being a Yami Yami no Mi user. Also, you would need to be dead first. Now again, I think there could be special attacks made for the game, so maybe there could be like a Pika Pika no Mi Kanabo attack or Bara Bara no Mi Punisher attack. It just would take some dedicated developers to pull it off. And that's pretty much it for the video. I mean, come back next time where I talk about ranged fighting styles and weapons in the game. Follow me on Instagram at RedxRonnie. I post art there. I haven't posted much in a while, but I do post art. I'm an artist. You can also follow me on Twitter at RedxRonnie. I get into like a lot of anime and basketball debates on there, so you know, that's fun. So if you want to follow me on those two things, go ahead. And I also created a Discord. Someone suggested it in the comments in my last video. I'm not really a big fan of it, or not a big fan, but I don't really know much about it. So if anybody wants to join that, you know, help me along the way, you know, we can be in that chat about stuff, maybe talk about other games, other anime and stuff like that. Go ahead, I'll put that in the link in the description. And make sure you guys like the video if you like the video, and subscribe for more. See you later.